Good evening and welcome to Newswatch on this 5th day of November 2020. Thank you so much for choosing Hope TV News. My name is Teresia Njenga and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Murithi. Let us get started. And the National Council of Churches of Kenya, NCCK, has welcomed the recently unveiled BBI report, saying it will bring the much-needed constitutional change. The council, which held an executive meeting in Limuru, Kiambu County, has however called for review of proposals in the BBI report, including review of the two-thirds gender principle, which proposes the transfer of women representatives from the National Assembly to the Senate, saying this will deny women opportunity to be appointed cabinet ministers.
So we have reviewed the proposals in BBI, and this executive committee has realized that they seek to answer three main questions. In our review, we sought to ask three questions. One, do the proposals resolve the issues that were identified by the BBI task force to address? B, do the proposals require constitutional amendments through a referendum? And C, do the proposals create more problems than they are seeking to solve? In our analysis, we appreciated the following recommendations in the BBI report that include increasing the shareable revenue of county governments from 15% to 35% of the national revenue. 2, establishing the post of Prime Minister and 2 deputy Prime Ministers. And number 3, establishment of the leader of the official opposition, this being the runners-up to in the presidential election and whose party has 25% of the seats in the National Assembly.
Workers under various unions and societies who have staged a demonstration in Nairobi on 2nd November have vowed to continue with their strike despite the intervention of the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, NMS. The health workers now say the NMS order only applies to health workers under the Nairobi Metropolitan Service and not them. Kenya Union of Clinical Officers Chairperson Peterson Wachira, who spoke during the demonstrations at the Uhuru Park grounds, called on the national government to do its due diligence and redesignate and promote all cadres of health professionals, failure to which they will not report to work. Our reporter Grace Wangoi has more.
Our people united shall never be defeated. Our people united.
It has been close to a week since healthcare workers under the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Kenya National Union of Nurses, Kenya National Union of Medical Laboratory Officers, Kenya Union of Nutritionists and Dietitians, and the Kenya Health Professional Society began their strike that has paralyzed operations in public hospitals, including screening for COVID-19 at port health facilities like airports. The aggrieved healthcare workers are now demanding their due promotions lest they fail to go to work. KUSO Secretary General George Gibore, leading the strike, pointed out that failure to promote them is in violation of the Human Resource Policy on Promotion.
It is unfortunate that we continue having healthcare workers who are stagnating in one job group for more than actually 17 years, 10, and some even 7 years. That is against the Public Service Commission the HR manual that provide on how people are supposed to be promoted. So these healthcare workers, as we have resolved, we will only go back to work once we have the letters of promotion and a redesignation.
It's very unfortunate that we can be here today as health workers in the midst of a surging second wave because of something that the ministry should have done 15 years ago.
Being part of the frontline officers in the fight against COVID-19, the healthcare workers decry that an unfair card was played on them by the government as they are unable to cater for medical bills once they contract the virus in the line of duty, as they are yet to receive an insurance cover.
Where the healthcare workers have been left on their own when they get infection and be admitted, including the public facility, like what the chairman has said, we are asked to pay a huge chunk of money, including here in KU. We have someone who died there. They are asking for over 250,000 for them to release the body. And this is a COVID body being detained. And this is quite unfortunate. And that our country, where policies and the decisions are made by politicians and by people who never seek services in the public sector, they do not know the pain of the healthcare workers, neither do they know the pain of the Wanjiko. And that is the quagmire we are in.
Solidarity forever.
Adding their voice on the matter of the Nairobi Metropolitan Service (NMS) receiving court orders to halt the health worker strike, union head George Gibore says the strike is still on and say the unions are not under the NMS.
I need to say that there was some communication is like this strike had been stopped by the court, which is not true. The strike that was stopped by the court is the one for the employees under the NMS. So that is the only strike that was stopped by the court. So the strike for the national government is still on. And unfortunately, we want to communicate that we are undeterred in this strike and in this quest to look for the promotion and the redesignation of the healthcare workers under the national government.
Grace Sangoi, Hope TV Newswatch.
And in line with yesterday's presidential directives on the enforcement of necessary measures to contain the spread of COVID-19 in the country, the National Police Service now says it is ready to put into effect the directives. In a statement released on Thursday, the Inspector of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, said the police service will work closely with the national government administration officers and county government enforcement teams to ensure total compliance with the Ministry of Health protocols and guidelines to counter further spread of coronavirus. Alice Diana tells us more.
Anyone who will be found flouting COVID-19 rules will find themselves in trouble. Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai has instructed all police officers across the country to enforce the COVID-19 protocols and regulations in strict compliance with the rule of law. While addressing the nation on Wednesday at State House in Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta pointed out that Kenyans have backslidden in their vigilant observation of the health protocols and called on the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government to ensure strict enforcement.
That it is not my government's desire to close down our economy. We want our country to remain open. But whether or not we will remain open shall ultimately depend on the public's responsiveness to COVID protocols.
Police boss Hilary Mutyambai has directed police officers to ensure that the 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew is implemented without any fear or favor and in strict adherence to standard operating procedures. He has further appealed to members of the public to adhere to regulations such as wearing of masks, keeping social distance while in social places, and avoiding unnecessary travel. Owners of restaurants, bars, and any other places open to public have been asked to ensure that they close their premises by 9 p.m. as directed by the President. Mutyambai said that his officers will help counties to close down restaurants or shops which will not follow the guidelines. Earlier this week, the IG had said that any member of the public found in public places without a face mask will be fined 20,000 shillings on the spot and arrests will not be made to avoid jail congestion. For Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Alice Diana.
And on COVID-19 figures today, 1,008 people have tested positive for the virus from a sample size of 6,038 tested in the last 24 hours, bringing to 59,595 the number of confirmed cases in the country. Our cumulative tests are now at 723,210 from the cases. 972 are Kenyans and 36 are foreigners. 802 patients have recovered from the disease, 679 being from the home-based care program, while 123 have been discharged from various hospitals. Total recoveries now stand at 39,193. Sadly, we have lost 21 patients to the disease, bringing the fatality to 1,072 people. Distribution of the cases by counties is as follows. Nairobi leads with 417, Mombasa 87, Kiambu 51, Kajiado 48, Nakuru 35, Kisumu 32, Kakamega 32, Trans Nzoia 26, Kilifi 24, Nyandarua 23, Kericho 23, Uasin Gishu 23, Nyamira 21, Machakos 20, Migori 16, Nyeri 15, Murang'a 14, Turkana 13, Siaya 10, Mandera 7, Busia 8, Meru 7, Kisii 7, West Pokot 6, Tharaka Nithi, Makueni, Homa Bay 6, Elgeyo Marakwet 5, Embu 4, Nandi 3, Kirinyaga, Bomet and Bungoma 2, Samburu, Baringo, Wajir, Kwale and Taita Taveta recorded 1 case each. And a total of 68 students, 5 teachers and 2 support staff from Bahati Secondary School in Nakuru County have tested positive for the novel coronavirus. The school has now been closed and turned into an isolation center where 115 other students of the same school have been quarantined. This comes just a day after President Uhuru Kenyatta confirmed that learning has to go on in the country despite the country experiencing the second wave of COVID-19. Mark Kimondo has this report.
Just a day after Kolanya Boys High School in Busia County shocked many, after 52 students from the school tested positive for COVID-19. Here comes another overwhelming hit that has left many parents wondering about the well-being of their children. 68 students and 5 teachers at Bahati Girls Secondary School in Nakuru County have been confirmed to have tested positive for the deadly virus. In a statement on Thursday, Nakuru County Health Services Executive Committee member Kariuki Gichoki said one student who tested positive developed some complications. Currently, 115 other students from the same school are on quarantine as the school management holds discussion with the Ministry of Health to know what next.
There's a school in one of the schools around here that registered a very huge number of children who had actually COVID-19, who tested positive to COVID-19, about 68 of them, and about 115 are actually on isolation. There's only one child who developed some complications and is being treated at Nakuru Level 5 Hospital.
Nakuru County Health Department has been undertaking COVID-19 prevention measures and management in learning institutions, targeting all schools across the county.
We need to do more, and we need to urge the communities where we live from to continue observing distance, to continue washing their hands, so that we avoid this problem that we are seeing.
Even as much as the cases are rising, President Uhuru Kenyatta directed that learning has to go on. The president directed that basic education classes resume in-person learning in the first week of January 2021, leaving behind many questions than answers on the safety of students, given that the country is bearing the brunt of a second wave of COVID-19 pandemic. But even with the president's new order on school reopening date, several schools that had opened for examination classes have shut down following increased COVID-19 infections. Mark Kimondo for Hope TV.
Let us go on a short commercial break. We have much more news coming up, so don't go too far.
Tunakuletea burudani safi kutoka wanamuziki wa nyimbo za sifa na ibada, mahojiano ya moja kwa moja na mafunzo ya hali ya juu.
Dhamira ya mtu ikifa anaweza fanya anything. Because kile kinanitofautisha na mbuzi ni dhamira.
There was this time niliambia Mungu, mimi samahani Mungu, lakini naona umenifanya mimi kuwa daraja. Sitaki. Limeinuliwa
Ni mahali pa uchipuzi na ulezi wa vipaji.
Mwimbaji anaweza itisha akitaka, lakini unajua hiyo ni sauti
hajanunua.
Hujanunua, hiyo ni umebarikiwa nayo. So hiyo unaweza mupeane aidha bure ama. Lakini hii pande nyingine sisi tumeinvest, ni investment.
Tunabeba mwili, lakini mimi sikujua hii ni maagano nafanya.
Ungana naye Mwalimu Shaban Brima kila Ijumaa saa 2 jioni na marudio kila Jumamosi saa 10 jioni.
Machozi ya furaha nishangaze baba, kwa ushuhuda wangu watambua wewe ni Mungu.
Welcome to Rafiki Gardens along Kangondo Road by Optiven. This is an ideal and affordable piece of investment that is strategically placed within the Nairobi metropolis. Rafiki Gardens is close to key social amenities like schools, banks, and shopping malls. This project comes with ready title deeds, Maram roads, and a marking fence round the property. Get a plot at only 695,000 Kenya shillings cash price. You can also pay a 50% deposit and pay the rest in 6 months installments. Call us today on 0702 8310 83 or visit www.optiven.co.ke.
Welcome back. Human rights organizations in the Coast region led by Haki Africa have called for the disbandment of the just established Special Enforcement Unit SEU announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta during his speech to the nation on Wednesday. Led by Haki Africa Executive Director Hussein Khalid, the rights group said the president's speech SEU is to comprise officers from the regular police, national government administrative officers and inspectorate from the counties in an effort to ensure COVID-19 regulations are adhered to by all, including politicians. According to the organization, experience on the ground is that security agencies, particularly the police, have time and again failed to enforce the regulations and instead use the regulations to harass, intimidate, torture and even kill Kenyans in the guise of enforcing COVID-19 regulations.
Politicians have been responsible for the huge numbers we've recorded during the second wave. Yet, despite their continued public gatherings and rallies, police have done absolutely nothing to contain their spread of this disease. So we are urging the government to call off the SEU, and if they feel we must have the SEU, then it must engage all actors.
Sisi tunajiuliza ni tofauti gani ya hii special unit na zile kwekwe ambazo zimekuwa zikiformiwa ambazo zimemaliza vijana katika maeneo duni.
Instead of the police officers handling people with care, knowing that they are living with stress because of economic crisis, because since COVID-19 landed in this country, businesses have gone down. They are busy making business out of the poor people.
A section of border operators in Murang'a County have differed over the amount of money that was donated by Deputy President William Ruto during his last visit in the region. The operators claim Deputy President Ruto donated a total of 2.8 million Kenya shillings to be distributed among them for empowerment purposes, but the money is nowhere to be seen. They are now accusing a group of unknown people who are handling the money of duping them.
Hiyo tarehe 30 Mheshimiwa Ruto alikuja akatuachia pesa 2.8 na saa hii inaonekana kama imekunywa maji, kwa sababu wale walichaguliwa ni cartels. Walikuja wakachukua pesa ya watu wa bodaboda na saa hii hatujaiona. Sasa tunauliza kwa heshima, hiyo pesa tupewe na wenye walichukua, kwa sababu wenye walichukua wengine si watu wa bodaboda.
Watu wa bodaboda ni watu wanakuanga na hasira, na ni ukweli tu juu ni wa kijana wadogo wadogo. Kaa hii kitu iko, wacheni tu watu wapatiwe. Na hii wiki naomba tu wenye wako na hizo pesa za watu wakangema, naomba tu hii wiki isiishe, wakuje wagawie watu pesa zao.
Now, Kenya's Special Envoy to South Sudan, Kalonzo Musyoka, has championed for the completion of the Juba-Kapweta road that will connect South Sudan and Kenya, making it the gateway to the Lamu port and the rest of the world. The 365-kilometer Juba-Torit-Kapweta-Nadapal single carriageway in South Sudan to the Kenyan border, of Nadapal was launched in 2012 under the former President Mwai Kibaki administration, with the aim of contributing to the overarching goal of integrating South Sudan to the regional markets and supporting the state of South Sudan to function as a nation, as well as enhancing trade and socio-economic development in the region. The Kenyan envoy says the completion of the highway will expand the South Sudan economy by opening the oil market potential that rests in the south to the rest of the world market.
As envoy to this country, my keep on dreaming and praying that the road from Juba to Kapweta will be done expeditiously, because our brothers from Uganda have actually, you've been growing the GDP of Uganda, because we heard that you import all the food. You import all the food from Uganda. You've not gotten to the habit of doing your own food. Well, we don't want to join the queue by providing food. We just want to be able to make the connection between Juba and our port of Lamu, as President Salva Kiir actually participated along with President Kibaki. So we give you an outlet. I'm told there's a lot more oil on the southern side than to the north, to Port Sudan. And you cannot therefore pump all the oil from this wonderful resource-rich country up through Port Sudan all the time. Some of it you can pump through Lamu.
A low turnout has continued to mar the annual recruitment of the National Youth Service, NYS, which kicked off earlier this week. NYS Director General Matilda Sakwa said the ongoing countrywide recruitment failed to meet projections, registering low turnout among youth, a move she has attributed to the COVID-19 pandemic, especially after candidates were required to present COVID-19 free certificates. She was speaking at the Machakos Showground during a monitoring mission accompanied by Machakos County Commissioner Frederick Ndunga.
In Machakos, we were expecting to recruit a total of about 150 in the whole county, in the 9 sub-counties. So I still want to send an appeal to the youth. Let them come up and take these positions and get something to do.
We have very low turnout. With COVID-19, people might be scared to come for the exercises. They might be afraid to come and join others in terms of crowd. Again, one of the conditions we had said is that we want people who have been tested. So you can see that the turnout might be because of that. People might be fearing to test, or people might not have money to test. But overall, once we get them, we also still will test them at college, so that we are so sure that the ones joining us are free of COVID. But should we get people living with people who are affected with the pandemic, the time they report in Gilgil and Naivasha, we have isolation centers, and we have our doctors who will come and look at them and make sure that they're fine, so that we also don't discriminate, because once we have picked you, we expect you to go through the exercise of paramilitary for the next 6 months.
Isiolo County officials have disputed claims made by Isiolo Senator Fatuma Dulo last week that Isiolo County Referral Hospital should be shut down. Dulo made the remarks after visiting the hospital amid concerns that the facility did not have an operational ICU to cater for COVID-19 patients in critical condition. The officials, with the backing of the Ministry of Health, are urging residents to reconsider using the facility that has seen a countable number of outpatients since the senator's remarks. Health CEC Wario Galma, who pointed an accusing finger at the senator for failure to conduct thorough investigations, has warned against politicization of the matter.
This morning we are privileged to be visited by a committee from the National Assembly, and we had a good time sitting together and discussing quite a number of issues related to, one, COVID, secondly, the service being provided at this hospital. And I really want to take this opportunity to thank them very, very much, because as leaders they came and give us opportunity to be able to talk to them. They listened to us, asked us a number of questions which we responded to as a team. And after that they went out walking around all over in the hospital, to ICU, to laboratory, and to the oxygen plant. Other people should take an example from these leaders who have come to visit us to witness, than being outside there to create propaganda against the facility. I think one thing which is very, very, very important, and we need to understand as leaders at all levels, are that we, each and every one of us, has a responsibility of ensuring that quality healthcare services are provided to the citizens. It is a responsibility for each and every one of us. As leaders, where there are challenges, which we do not deny, we need to come together and get solution to those problems. Because each of the leaders in this county are representing the same people.
And in Dodoma, Tanzania, President John Pombe Magufuli and Vice President Samia Hassan have been sworn in for a final term after they won hotly contested polls. Kenya was represented by Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of East African Community and Regional Development, Adan Mohamed, and Interior CAS Hussein Dado. There were several dignitaries in attendance, including former Tanzanian Presidents Ali Hassan Mwinyi and Jakaya Kikwete, Zimbabwe President Emerson Mnangagwa, Zanzibar's President Hussein Ali Mwinyi, among others. Magufuli was re-elected for a second term last week, securing a huge victory against his main opponent, Tundu Lissu, whose party dismissed the election results, alleging widespread irregularities. Magufuli garnered 12.5 million votes, which is 84% of the votes cast against opposition leader Tundu Lissu's 13%, which was 1.9 million votes. Lissu, who was arrested on Monday this week, termed last week's polls illegitimate, claiming that Tanzanian authorities thwarted planned opposition protests against the election over alleged irregularities by arresting several Chadema officials.
Makofi mengine mengi sana kwa Mheshimiwa Dr. John Pombe Magufuli, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Magufuli oye!
Ninamshukuru sana Mungu. Lakini tofauti na mwaka 2015 ambapo niliapishwa jijini Dar es Salaam kwenye uwanja wa Uhuru, mara hii nimeapishwa katika uwanja wa Jamhuri katika jiji hili zuri la Dodoma, ambako ndio makao makuu ya nchi. Ninalishukuru sana hili. Nalishukuru sana hili kwamba nimekuwa rais wa kwanza kuapishwa katika jiji hili zuri la Dodoma. Hivyo basi, kwa moyo wa unyenyekevu mkubwa, napenda kumshukuru sana Mwenyezi Mungu, Muumba wetu, aliyetujalia uhai na kutuwezesha kuiona siku ya leo. Aidha, kwa moyo wa dhati kabisa, napenda niwashukuru sana Watanzania wenzangu kwa kuniamini na kunipa dhamana hii kubwa ya kuliongoza taifa letu kwa kipindi kingine cha miaka 5. Nawashukuru pia Watanzania kwa kukipa ushindi mkubwa chama changu, Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM. lakini kama nilivyosema wakati nakabidhiwa cheti cha ushindi na mwenyekiti wa tume, ushindi huu sio wa wana CCM peke yao, ni ushindi wa Watanzania wote. Nitumie fursa hii kurudia kuipongeza sana Tume ya Taifa ya Uchaguzi kwa kusimamia vizuri zoezi la uchaguzi wa mwaka huu. Aidha, nawashukuru tena viongozi wetu wa dini kwa kutuongoza vizuri kwa dua na sala katika kipindi chote cha uchaguzi, na hatimaye tumeweza kumaliza uchaguzi wetu salama. Vile vile na vishukuru vyombo vyetu vyote vya ulinzi na usalama kwa kufanya kazi vizuri na kwa uweledi mkubwa ambao umewezesha amani na usalama kutawala katika kipindi chote cha uchaguzi.
And back in the country, security officers in Nairobi County have been directed to enforce the COVID-19 containment regulations put in place by the Ministry of Health and the President to curb the rising cases of COVID-19 cases in the country. Nairobi Regional Commissioner James Kianda said a section of Nairobi residents were flouting the regulations, and in particular the young people, and ordered the police to arrest those disregarding the rules regardless of their status. Kianda also directed officers to constantly check on bars and public service vehicles to ensure laid down protocols on COVID-19 are adhered to, among them wearing of face masks, use of hand sanitizers, and ensuring social distancing in public places.
Has to be able to manage the problem of COVID, which doesn't want to go away. We just have to discourage this night interaction. So whether His Excellency the President is going to stick to the rule and regulation as it is today, or he is going to change it whichever way, we are required to implement that regulation as it is. The issue, my brothers and sisters, is not only the issue of hours. We will implement the law in as far as the hours are concerned. If it is closing at 10, they must close at 10. Whoever has not closed at 10, kamata yeye. Ikiwa kuna njia anaweza pewa bond usiku apewe, ateremuke, akienda nyumbani apatane na OCS tena, amwambie umevunja curfew tena, akamatwe, aende apewe ingine. That is what we have to do. The issue of management of COVID is we have to get into the drinking areas and see whether the protocols are being implemented as they should. And therefore what I want to demand from the OCPDs, hii sasa ninawatuma kwa your chairman, you have to reactivate your committees that have been dealing, the multi-agency committee that has been dealing with implementation of the COVID protocols. Because hatutakubali Wakenya waendelee kufa jameni. And let me digress by telling you that you and me are at a very high risk if COVID continues. If every police officer can be serious about implementing the protocols, about implementing the regulations that have been given by NSAC, that have been pronounced by His Excellency the President, we will not be having the problem of COVID as it is today.
And internationally, in the US, vote counting continues in a handful of key battleground states, which will determine the outcome of the US presidential election. Joe Biden currently leads the race for the White House ahead of President Trump. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign has launched legal action to stop the count in several states, claiming fraud and irregularities. The final result hinges on the states of Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Protesters have taken to the streets of several cities to demand counting be allowed to continue, while others have called for counting to stop. Neither President Trump nor Joe Biden has reached the 270 electoral college votes they need to claim the White House.
8 days, you believe that? 8 days from now, we're going to win the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we are going to win 4 more great years in the White House. I want to begin today by discussing an issue of existential importance to Pennsylvania. Very, very important. Last week, Sleepy Joe Biden made perhaps the most shocking admission ever uttered in the history of presidential debates. In other words, he blew it. On live television, 91-9. Did you see that? 91. Did you know what that means? 91-9, but we won't talk about that. Further the fake news.
Here, the people rule. Power can't be taken or asserted. It flows from the people. And it's their will that determines who will be the President of the United States, and their will alone.
Let's go have brownouts, blackouts all over Pennsylvania, all over the country. Who wants to go wind? He wants to go with windmills that are made in Germany and China.
We're going to address systemic racism and build real economic opportunity of equality for the black community. The blinders have been taken off. The American people have seen. They've seen how bad things are.
We'll definitely be keeping an eye on the USA elections results. And we take another short break. Business and sports news is coming up. Keep it Hope TV.
Wake up every morning
I shall arise.
with refreshing worship playlists.
So come we're ready for your presence. Till there's only you, Jesus. You are. Amen. Hallelujah.
And powerful nuggets of God's word.
His mercies begin afresh each morning.
We had pressed from every side, but we are not crushed. Right place. We desire to be in the sweet space.
The place of praising, the place of singing lips.
Only on Hope Devotion.
Dunia ni mali ya Bwana na vyote vijazavyo.
Nguruwe ni mali ya Bwana au?
Ni mali ya Bwana.
Bata ni mali ya Bwana?
Ni mali.
Wewe kula basi. Acha mambo mengi.
Yesu ndiye njia.
Muislamu yoyote ambaye anamkataa Yesu, kwanza sisi tunamjua ni kafiri.
Bila huyu Yesu, mtu aendi kwa Baba.
Ungana na walimu wa neno wanapochambua masuala tata katika Biblia, wakiyalinganisha na vitabu vingine vya kidini.
Je, kuna ushahidi wowote Muhammad aliwahi ona Qur'ani? Na hii Qur'ani muliitoa wapi? Halo?
Piga simu moja kwa moja na pia uchangie kupitia SMS na Facebook.
Itawezekana kitabu cha Biblia ambaye mnakiamini kuwa ni kitabu cha Mwenyezi Mungu ishindwe kumtabiri mtu ambaye ana wafuasi zaidi ya bilioni 100 duniani.
Je, Muhammad amekufa ama yuko hai?
Ungana nasi kila Jumamosi saa 2 hadi saa 4 ya usiku kwenye runinga uipendayo ya Hope TV.
Thank you for keeping it Hope TV. Let's look at business now. Cassava cultivation has always been perceived as a poor man's job, but in Busia County, farmers have started embracing this type of farming. Lynette Nyavangi, a plant breeder at Kenya Agricultural and Research Organization Kalro Alupe Station, says that years of research have brought about new varieties of cassava that can cope with environmental stresses such as drought and periods of heavy rain. Nyavangi also says that Kalro is multiplying enough clean planting materials for the people of Busia and beyond. The seedlings, once ready, will be distributed to farmers in the county for free. The project is aimed at distributing clean planting materials to farmers in different regions in the country to safeguard and improve food security, as well as improve the economy and livelihood of small-scale farmers.
These varieties gives us between, let me say, 14
to 20 tons in 1 acre of land. You know, that is at least a reasonable yield when it comes to cassava. Because earlier on, they used to plant local varieties, whereby a farmer could only get like, let me say like 5 tons per acre. That's actually a loss. But after doing some work and getting some improved varieties, the farmers are now even appreciating, because the yield they get from here is like double what they used to get a long time ago.
And the Kilifi County government has attributed the low collection of local revenue by the devolved units to failure by most rateable properties owners to pay county dues. County Chief Officer for Lands, Dr. James Kapanya Nguzo, said a big chunk of the about 1 billion Kenya shillings raised locally by the county government annually comes from about 13,000 entities, yet the county is endowed with more rateable properties. He said the county government conducted a valuable exercise for all chargeable properties and registered a total of 46,000 properties and prepared a draft valuation roll that if adapted, could see local revenue triple. Dr. Nguzo was addressing journalists at the Tukaye Multipurpose Hall in Malindi Sub-County, where a mobile valuation court has been sitting to hear objections lodged to the county government property owners not happy with the valuation of their properties.
But today as we speak, the valuation rule that we are now making is more than triple, because it has 46,000 properties against that 6,000 properties at hand. So of these 46,000 properties, only 765 objections were lodged against it. So simple mathematics will show you is about what? Is about 1.5%, meaning about 99% of this draft valuation roll is not contested. Throughout the counties, as you are aware of the financing programs, or the financing scenario in Kenya, these counties have the national the national share from the treasury, and also the counties are to come up with their own local revenues. And I'm saying, of these local revenues, key actually comes from the land rates. Key comes from the land rates. And we are here, therefore, to in fact try to see how we can actually increase our local revenues. And once we increase our local revenues, we have resources to serve our people better.
And in the sports world, Manchester United boss Ole Gunnar blasted unforgivable defending from his unfortunate side as they slammed to an embarrassing 2-1 Champions League defeat against Istanbul. Elsewhere, PSG coach Thomas Tuchel waved away questions over his future after a 2-1 defeat as RB Leipzig dealt a major blow to the Champions League. This and more in our sports roundup with Joseph Maingi.
Manchester United suffered a chasing night after conceding an embarrassing opening goal as they were humbled by Champions League rookies Istanbul Basaksehir. Elsewhere, Chelsea eased to a 3-0 win over 10-man Rennes in the Champions League Group E, thanks to 2 first-half penalties hammered home by striker Timo Werner in a tap-in by Tabi Abraham. Elsewhere, Alvaro Morata scored twice before 2 defensive mistakes helped Juventus to a 4-1 Champions League win at Ferencvaros as they bounced back from last week's defeat by Barcelona. In Group F, in-form Erling Blandt Haaland scored twice as Borussia Dortmund surged to top of the Champions League Group F with a comfortable 3-0 win over host Club Brugge. In Germany, Red Bull Leipzig came from behind to beat Paris Saint-Germain 2-1 at home in a pursuant Champions League Group H clash, with the French club finishing the match with 9 men. In Spain, Lionel Messi scored a penalty for the third Champions League game in a row as Barcelona under far convincing 2-1 at home to depleted Dynamo Kiev to record 3 consecutive victories in Europe top competition. Tonight, the UEFA Europa League gets underway as Tottenham will be looking to get their Europa League campaign back on track when they make a trip to Ludogorets after they lost last week 1-0 to Royal Antwerp. Arsenal and Molde meet in the Europa League Group B clash, with both clubs looking to extend their winning streak in the group to 3 matches. Leicester will be at home to welcome Braga as both teams are out to maintain their perfect start in the Europa League when they face off at the King Power Stadium. Benfica will be keen to bounce back from their first league defeat of the season on Monday as they host Rangers. In Group H, a mouth-watering clash between 2 unbeaten powerhouses takes place in the Europa League as AC Milan welcomes Lille at the San Siro. Bayer Leverkusen travel to Israel to face Hapoel Beersheva in Group C of the Europa League, with all 4 teams in the group being leveled with 3 points. And finally, in Group A, Roma face off with Club Rouge to see who sails top of Group A. That's your sports. Have a blessed evening. I'm Joseph Mainki.
It is well to the Manchester fans. Well, that's all we had for Newswatch tonight. Thank you for watching. My name is Teresia Njenga, and our sign language interpreter has been Boniface Mureithi. Have a good night, and God bless you.